Hello, friends and members of the Creation Research Society. Dr. Brown here. On today's Member Spotlight, I have the privilege to speak with a PhD meteorologist. This is not something we have a lot of in the society, and we need more of them. So today we have Richard Carpenter. Welcome, Richard.
It's good to be here.
Okay, so a lot that I'd like to ask you as with your background in meteorology, but I'd like to just have you start out by kind of sharing your story. There are two sides to that. There's the scientific side and then there's the creation side. Let's start with the scientific side. How'd you get to where you are today?
Well, I think I knew since I was about 5 years old that I wanted to be a scientist. And by the time I was about 9 years old, I wanted to be a meteorologist. And I think that's just because of the data collection and analysis. And also you're living in your laboratory. So that was an intriguing aspect for me. That's why I picked meteorology. I was not a believer. I was an atheist, and um, by the time I got to graduate school, I realized that I had nothing to live for. I'd exhausted all
Mm.
options that came from myself and a fellow graduate student just encouraged me to look into the Bible. And I was just the ultimate skeptic, but it rapidly turned around once I actually started reading the Bible. So shortly after that, I did become a believer. And
So,
so,
Richard, I'm gonna jump in there. This is, and I know there's a lot more to this story, but it's really an example of two things. Number one, how how much need there is out there. How many people are out there like yourself in those shoes that are lost, that don't have anything to live for, and how a grad student who was just in that same field what had an influence and impact for God by sharing, pointing you in the right direction.
yeah, absolutely. So, my as far as my career, I went to undergraduate school at University of California at Davis, and the weather in California is pretty benign. And so I moved to Oklahoma for my graduate work, and also met my wife that we're coming up next year will be our 40th anniversary.
Congratulations.
Yeah, and so um, as my in my graduate studies, I worked on numerical modeling. That's basically just you can think of as dividing the Earth's atmosphere up into a bunch of cubes. So you make a 3D cube out of it, and you solve all the equations that are involved, equations of motion and mass conservation and ideal gas law and all that sort of thing. And so I worked on numerical techniques for that, as well as simulating just an ordinary cumulus cloud at very high resolution, which hadn't been done before.
Huh.
So I like to say that I was computing clouds long before cloud computing came along. So,
And is that so? How does the research side of meteorology differ from, the talking head on TV?
well, those guys have a very important role, and they're, for the most part, they're very knowledgeable. Especially in the plains. I live in Oklahoma, and so they're very knowledgeable, and they're very helpful and especially in times of severe weather. So, what I focused on is numerical techniques, and I'm for a large part using what we call community models that are developed by national centers and running them in an operational manner. And so, but every meteorologist is a consumer of the models that are run either in-house or at a national center. So we rely on those very much. It's very important to be continually improving those. It's also important to understand the weaknesses because not every process can be simulated on a computer. We're not there where we're simulating every cloud or every raindrop or every hill and valley. So there's a
Yeah.
lot that there's a lot of art that goes into weather forecasting.
So that's what I find very interesting about what you do. A lot of scientific modeling about the past, about the universe. Those models can be completely wrong, and it doesn't affect anybody's day.
Mhm.
Whereas meteorology, you're modeling it, the results of it do impact people's decisions in the here and now.
Well, very much, and we especially those high impact events, whether it's tornadoes or hurricanes or floods, or whatever. So it's very important to get right. So a lot of my career has been focused on building operational systems, which
Okay.
means something that runs on a computer reliably, highly efficient, and doesn't break down. So we're constantly delivering things to our customers. And so, as part of building a system that we deployed for everywhere from national meteorological centers, aviation weather. Um, um, Most recently, we deployed one for understanding wildfire conditions. So, not just the weather conditions, but then other applications would take that information and how wet or dry is the fuel, they call it, the dead logs on the ground or the live trees. And so if a spark were to happen, how fast would that wildfire spread? So it's been that I think that's been a very satisfying part of my
Yeah.
career, just providing information that other people will use and get some value out of.
Okay, so let's tie this to creation science now. So that's what we love about the society is people like you who are professionals in their career. You're a professional PhD meteorologist and researcher. And how does your biblical worldview tie into meteorology, and how does meteorology tie into your biblical worldview? Try answering that in
Yeah.
60 seconds.
Yeah, boy, that's tough. I you know, I meteorology, there's not it's a pretty small slice of the overall creation science
Sure.
movement. And so I've focused on the physical sciences, so bringing in geology and astronomy as well. With meteorology, there's things that are of immediate interest, just economic impacts as well as, I mean, climate change is a huge of huge importance, and understanding what the implications are, and what the arguments are.
Sure.
And uh, and then also with meteorology, we have the post flood ice age, and that's the theory that Mike Ord developed, and that you get a an ice age that basically forms as a result of the floods, the hot oceans, and volcanic emissions that shade and cool the atmosphere, and so you can get a buildup of ice. So I think that's one topic that is very ripe uh,
Agreed.
for further research. And I based on what I've done, I would love to take that and run a three-dimensional model of the Earth. It's a matter of having time
Yeah.
and resources to do that.
So I what a great opportunity. The Ice Age is one, post flood. conditions, meteorological conditions, climate conditions. That's a huge open question still.
Mm-hmm.
Pre-flood conditions. I'm interested in a meteorologist's perspective on that. I feel
Hmm.
like there's
Yeah.
research potential there. It's a little further removed, so it's hard to say a lot. I'm taking it though. There's a lot that a meteorologist in their training in physical sciences can apply to creation-related questions.
Yeah, and there has been a lot done, already, with other, pioneers in the field. Larry Vardaman comes
Yeah.
to mind, and looking at ice cores, or trying to understand the, like you say, the pre-flood. It's interesting that that's more and more becoming a topic in, geology,
Yeah.
as well. And it'd be great to try and, what were those mists in Eden. And we seem to think that the Earth's terrain was flatter, back then. And there's opportunities. You can, in a modeling environment, you can terraform the Earth, and put the continents how you think they should be, and run the model.
Well, well said. I just appreciate the perspective you bring to those questions. Uh, as we wrap this up, I want you to tell us why you joined the Creation Research Society, what you hope to be able to do in the Creation Research Society, with the purpose of the society that you believe, and then finish off by giving us a favorite Bible verse. It can
Okay.
be
Okay.
creation related or anything.
Yeah.
Just a favorite Bible verse that means a lot to you.
Yeah. I think, the as far as the Research Society, I attended last year's meeting. I'd always intended to attend earlier meetings, and one thing or another got in the way. And it was a blast last year. We had the geology field trip. It was so good, and so we're making a family trip out of it to Pensacola this year. So there's a plug for you. Everybody can attend that. And um, so there's just a lot going on. There's a lot of excitement. We have challenges, but we have um, so many young faces, new scientists,
Yeah.
that are dedicated, um, to the field. And the creation science movement, if you bring it back to, let's say, 1961, and the publication of the Genesis flood, it's been going strong for 65 years. And God willing, it'll continue on. And there's just an embarrassment of riches when it comes to new discoveries, the iDino research, Mount St. Helens. And even if you go to fields like archaeology, it's like on a daily or weekly basis, you're seeing things that just confirm the biblical account.
Amen.
As far as a favorite Bible verse, I really like, Psalm 111:2. It's greater the works of the Lord, studied by all who delight in them. It was the verse that, James Clerk Maxwell had placed above, his laboratory at Cambridge University. And he was a great, physicist of the 1800s. And it just really sums up. We're delighted in God's creation, and we're delighted to be studying it. So I I think that really sums it up.
No, that's well said, and that sums up why we exist as a society. God has gifted people like you and others in the sciences, and we can use that for the glory of God. Thank you for joining us today, Richard.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure.
To everybody else out there, if you love God, love God's word, and you love science, love studying God's world, then you should become a member of the Creation Research Society, where our objective is to glorify God through all aspects of our lives, including science.